Greetings. I speak to you here from London at our beautiful London campus that, as you can see, is just right next to St. Paul's Cathedral. I welcome you from all around the world. We have 57 countries represented, and my guess is, since it's a little bit early in Chicago right now, but midday here in London and early evening or I guess evening time in Hong Kong, we probably have more people from outside the U.S. than inside the U.S. on this right now, but I'm really delighted to be able to connect with you on this. I'm also delighted to say that it has just been announced that I'm going to be staying in London for another year. Obviously, it's been a challenging time over the last 7 or 8 months, but it's been an excellent time. Even though I haven't been able to physically meet with people, I've been able to do a lot of Zoom calls, do a lot of webinars, really maintain the engagement, maintain our profile here. We're doing a lot of work with the media, and both in the most recent week, thinking about what are the economic consequences of the election. We also did something at Booth with Raghu Rajan and Kate Baker on that, which was a lot of fun, and so it's really great to be able to maintain the momentum of what we've been doing here in London. So maybe what I'll do is I'll talk just for, I know that Madhav gave kind of a state of the school overview, so I don't want to overlap with what he said yesterday. So I'll talk a little bit about our global strategy, in some sense, what am I doing here? What am I trying to accomplish? And then think about how you guys might be able to help us in that, accomplish that goal. So broadly, our global strategy, which applies whether it's in Chicago or Hong Kong or London or throughout the world, is we really want to maximize the impact of the ideas we generate at Chicago and the Chicago Booth way of thinking on business practice and government policy. And I mentioned government policy not because I want to turn this into a public policy school, but as you know, a lot of faculty members have been very involved in policy. Whether it's Austin Goolsbee, Raghu Rajan, Anil Kashyap, myself, have all been deeply involved in policy. Someone like Richard Thaler has helped to create a so-called nudge unit here in the UK government to use behavioral economics for good, to try to help to think about what the defaults should be for choices on a whole variety of things, pensions, organ donations, etc., to think about how to get to better outcomes by just nudging people. And so these ideas have had very important consequences in, for business practice, obviously, transformative ideas on in financial markets, whether they are Gene Fama's or Richard Thaler's, as well as transformative ideas for policy. And we're trying to do that in a few different ways. One way is to achieve that goal is recruiting. And so we have these spectacular campuses in London and Hong Kong. And so these are great assets for us being able to recruit students from around the world, because obviously with travel challenges, it's harder for people to get to Chicago. But obviously, that was part of our strategy before the recent health issues. Second thing is advancing the careers of the people we train, trying to work with you to see how can we help you to increase your impact, advance your career, have more influence, really achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And one of the things that we launched this last year, which was the University of Chicago Global Entrepreneurs Network, UCGen. We now have more than 500 people globally engaged with that, and this is a great way for more senior alums to mentor more junior alums, and on entrepreneurship, that's super important, to engage in Booth as well as throughout the university, because Polsky is a university center, although has a very large presence at Booth and large involvement at Booth. It's also helpful for getting funding, and also it's helpful for getting the word out about how important the entrepreneurship is at at Booth, whether it's in our executive MBA program or in the full-time evening and weekend programs. So I think that's something that's important. We want to try to do more there, whether they're affinity groups, whether there are other alum groups, things that we can try to be helpful to you to give the base for you to organize, to get together and then get the word out, which is the third pillar, which is on demonstrating, really getting the word out. One of the first things that I did here when I got to London was arrange for Richard Thaler to do a lunch with the FT. And so that's this Saturday feature, which is a little bit lighter, but also reaches a very broad audience. And so that was a great way to get out the word that Richard Thaler, a Nobel Prize winner, comes to teach in our London campus. We have a London campus. We're moving to this beautiful new facility just a few blocks away from our old one, which used to be right next to the Bank of England. Now we're next to St. Paul's, still in the heart of the city. And also to talk about his ideas, his Nobel Prize winning ideas, and the influence that they're having on the Dund unit here in the UK. And then obviously one of the key pillars for anything we do at Booth is about research and building out research opportunities for gathering data globally, for making more connections, and so we're doing so that's been working quite well. Some of the payoffs from some of this effort has been, for example, I did a visit to Lagos, Nigeria last year, and we now have a record number of 8 people from Nigeria who are in the executive MBA classes. That's just really terrific to be able to make those connections, build on our global alum base, and then make it even bigger. And so that's something that that's very exciting. We've also been doing a lot of work in the Philippines on that. I think some of you may have participated in this global virtual conference that we did in September that was commemorating the 50th anniversary of Milton Friedman's famous essay on corporate social responsibility, as it was Corporate Social Responsibility Revisited, where we started in our Hong Kong campus, took a break, and during that break, we were doing recruiting for students in all of our programs. Came to London, had a couple of hours here, took a break, did more recruiting, and then went to Chicago. So it was a nice way to show our global reach. It was a nice way to engage in this important issue because there's so many people around the globe who are interested in this issue. And also something that was very interesting is that in each segment, I did a poll to see who agreed with Friedman that the responsibility of business is to maximize profits for shareholders, how many disagreed, and how many were uncertain. And what was a bit surprising to me is that very few people were uncertain, only 10%. Second, that was surprising, it was very consistent across the globe. And third, I was very surprised that 60% said they disagreed with Friedman, and 30% said they agreed with Friedman. So that underscores the variety of views that we have at Chicago, and that diversity of views, of course, is one of our key strengths. You know, we've got Fama and we've got Thaler. They couldn't disagree more with how financial markets operate, but they're good friends and good golfing buddies, and you know that's what it's about. We don't give you the answers. We give you ways of thinking about things, and then you have to figure out what the key answer is, or how to answer the questions. And so, speaking of that, I've gotten a few questions in advance, and I'm getting a few questions coming in here. And so, feel free to send those questions in to the I guess it's on the Q&A function or the chat function. One that just came in was about innovation and entrepreneurship opportunities in London and in Hong Kong. And so we have a representative from the Polsky Center in Hong Kong, and we've been doing a lot of activities there, getting into the entrepreneur network. And so I think Cerise would be the key person to be in touch with there for those particular on the ground opportunities. But we also have done a lot of programs with some spectacularly successful entrepreneurs like JP Gan. Has really just been amazing in what he has been able to create. And here in London, we've been connecting to, well, one, our location is very close to the entrepreneurial hub in the city of London, which is on the outside of the city of London, in Shoreditch, which is over in the east, but close by here. We've been doing a lot of connections to Innovate Finance, to some of the key industry groups that are involved with incubators and in different areas of finance. And so again, I think getting in touch with Polsky for the specifics, but this has been a priority for me, and we've been doing a lot of meetings there. I just did something with one of our graduates who is an entrepreneur in healthcare, and we had a Chicago booth session with Scott Meadow and myself, and he was the moderator of the session about entrepreneurship at Booth, about our engagement in healthcare and biotech, and obviously that's something that's just exploding. And let's see, a lot of questions are now coming in about the London campus, how it's different from the old campus. So it's much bigger. And what that means is we can do a lot more here. We have our traditional executive MBA classroom that holds about 100, but we also have a second classroom, an executive classroom, typically would be for non-degree programs, for our non-degree training programs. That classroom holds about 50. We've got a boardroom that holds 20. These are all pre-COVID, and hopefully we'll be able to go back to that. We've got a spectacular meeting area that can hold, again, pre-COVID days up to 350. So we'll be able to do, when things are safe, to be able to bring people together. We'll be able to hold a lot of events here, both with third parties, outside groups, as well as our own conferences, to be able to connect into that network much better. Some of the other questions that have come in of how can we as alum help to make the new London campus a success? And so I think, one, just getting the word out to make sure that people know that we have a campus here, and a spectacular new campus, and you know, that it's very close to St. Paul's. I think that's sort of a first step, because one of the challenges we've sometimes had is that people aren't fully aware of our presence. And that's what I've really been trying to do by getting the word out and demonstrating and doing a lot of media. One of the things I was very gratified with is during last week, one of the an editor from one of the major UK newspapers, not the Financial Times, because I have a longstanding relationship with them, but one of the other ones said, you know, I've been seeing you around a lot lately. Are you here? Which was really great that it's making it through, so that the economics editor at the Times of London and the Telegraph know that I'm here, that we're here, and we're having a presence. And so, mentioning when you're on different panels and when you're talking to people that you're a Booth graduate and that Booth has a campus here, that is something that's very valuable. We're also trying to work with our alums to see what are their conferences that we can get alums involved with and engage with, so they can be on panels like that conference that the biotech conference in Paris that I mentioned, that we did a virtual booth session with. I think those things are very valuable. Thinking about doing referrals, we are incredibly lucky that we have so many enthusiastic alums that really are number one source of people for the executive MBA program in London, for example. Well, actually throughout the whole executive MBA program is really from enthusiastic referrals. Thinking about whether there are training opportunities in your organization, and if they do executive education, suggest some of the Booth programs. And then, of course, if you're in a position to do so, hiring the graduates. But I think really helping to get the word out that we have the campus here in London, engaging our various constituencies, and then, you know, when there's an article by myself or by like Christian Leutz is going to be doing something on Wirecard later this afternoon with the Center for Economic Policy Research. Wirecard is a big, had been a big player in Germany, but is accused of accounting fraud, and so it's much smaller than it was. And Christian will be talking about that. Getting the word out about those would be super helpful. Let's see. Some of the keeping connected and lifelong learning. I've gotten a few questions about that. So right now things obviously are virtual, but we have been able to have a variety of opportunities for people to connect virtually. We actually had a very beautiful thing that some of the students here in Europe, Middle East Africa, well, actually throughout the EMBA program did, was had a few-hour program that had music, had photographs, had discussions, had individual presentations that was really touching in bringing people together. When obviously we can't literally touch each other because it's too, we can't rub shoulders or bump elbows at these distances. But we still can engage like that. Hopefully things like Reconnect can be helpful. We'll be doing some sessions for Economic Outlook coming out from I'm doing a series on road to economic recovery. We had Mervyn King, the central bank governor here, and the former central bank governor of the UK, talk about a new book that he has on economic uncertainty, a very relevant topic for today. And so, keeping connected through those. Also, we can think of trying to do, whether it makes sense to try to do chat rooms or breakout rooms around some of those events for our alums to try to keep connected. So if you have thoughts on that, we're very, very interested in that, whether it's Tim State, Penka, Jane Rodriguez, a whole bunch of others who you might want to reach out to make suggestions on that. Let's see, some other questions on, one on how I'm staying connected to Chicago, which is relevant for this. So it's actually been great because Zoom has allowed me to stay super connected to Chicago because people are connecting through Zoom. So even before that, I have a very good relationship with my colleagues in the dean's office and with so many members of the senior staff. So really, even pre-COVID, it wasn't a problem. But I was getting back once a quarter or so to see colleagues in Chicago. Now it's done through Zoom, but I still feel that I'm very connected there, and I do a lot of webinars for our alums and others there. I just did something for the alumni group in Chicago, which was very fun. We talked about a program that'll be an online program that'll be piloting in Exec Ed in the winter or spring on high stakes decision making. And I talked with one of our graduates, Mary Bush, who's just a spectacular. She's spectacular in just so many ways, but a way that was particularly spectacular for this was that she's on the board of many major firms, including Discover Financial. Well, she was on the board during the global financial crisis. I was at the Fed during the global financial crisis. And it turned out we were on opposite sides of the transaction because one of the high stakes decisions that we talked about with her was, should Discover take the so-called TARP money from the US government or not? So it was a really fun and interesting discussion. So that was a great way to keep connected. And it was for the Chicago alum group, and I was able to connect with Mary and connect with them. So that was quite fun. Let's see. Oh, Paris. Yes, we have a study center in Paris, and the university has a study center in Paris. Booth does not. That's a university center, and that's in Paris. And they're building out a larger center in Paris. So we will also have be on the ground there. Let's see. Some other questions are coming in about Hong Kong, and so obviously we're keeping a close eye on the security situation there, and the implications of the national security law, and we have had no interference or challenges for our operations, and I'm hopeful that will continue to be the case. We have a very good relationship with the Education Bureau in Hong Kong, and so operations have been continuing there, well, as smoothly as they can be given the COVID situation, because of course there are a lot of challenges there. Both in London and Hong Kong, students can come into our buildings, but relatively few students have chosen to do so. People are getting very used to coming in by Zoom, and there isn't the critical mass that are in. I'm hoping that will change soon. Obviously, here in London, we have this beautiful building that hasn't really been fully utilized yet, and we have that unbelievable building in Hong Kong. So we have some of the most beautiful real estate for our campuses in the world. Another question has just come in about the market for executive MBA students. Fortunately, we've still seen very strong demand from students wanting to come into the executive MBA program. The enrollments in Asia and in the US were roughly the same as usual, and actually had even more applicants than usual. In Europe, it was down slightly, but still within the range of where we have seen over the last few years. So it's fortunate that has continued to be strong. And as I think Madhav may have talked about yesterday, we have record enrollments in our programs in Chicago. So we're very fortunate that, obviously, incredible number of challenges from the pandemic, but the desire to get a Chicago Booth MBA or executive MBA in Chicago, Hong Kong, and London still remains pretty strong. Let's see, some more questions are coming in about another one about lifelong learning. Oh, Polsky and Rostandi centers, and their engagement. Certainly, over time, I hope we will have more representatives from our different centers at both of our campuses. We have the space to be able to do that, and I think we'll have the programming to be able to support that. And so I'm hopeful that after the pandemic passes, and that some of these partnerships that we've begun will be able to take root and flourish, and then we'll have representatives on the ground over time. Right now, we do have someone from Polsky and from Rostandi in Hong Kong, and we have to, as I said, London has to get going a little bit more, and we have to kind of put a little bit of the pandemic behind us before we take those next steps here. But I'm hopeful that that could be the case also. Let's see, some questions about the organizational plans for the campuses, and so at the UN campus in Hong Kong, that's a university campus where Booth plays a very important role in the executive MBA program, and executive education play very important roles, as well as the Rostandi Center and the Polsky Center playing important roles there. And so there we have an executive director, and who oversees all of the activities on the UN campus. And then, for example, for executive MBA, Julie Morton, who recently had been head of career services. I was able to convince her to become head of the global executive MBA program. So we'd have one unified head of that program. And I think that has been working out very well. We're coordinating closely. Julie and our other senior staff members are coordinating closely with the university to make sure that we really get the full set of synergies from being there. Here, we're still working out the specifics of the organizational structure here. Obviously, we're sort of seeing how things shake out with the coronavirus, and because I'm here for another year, we will see how the structure works out. All right. So I've gotten a few questions now beyond booth, and so I'll maybe finish with that, but I won't spend too much time on that. We only have a few minutes left, thinking about what the Fed is doing, what central banks are doing around the world, but this will be a good teaser for our economic outlooks that we'll be doing around the world in January. That we had pioneered while I was at the Fed a decade ago, but now they just were able to stand up in just a couple of days. It was heartening to see that they wanted to stand them up, that they thought they were useful and had worked and could work now. And central banks around the world, I think, have done a lot to try to provide support to ensure functioning of markets and provide a foundation for recovery. But if you're having lockdowns, if you're having these incredible health challenges, if you're having people unwilling or scared to go out to shop or to go into the office, no amount of monetary policy stimulus is going to turn that around. And so now it's really on getting the health situation under control, which is, I think, a key priority. So I know a lot of people talk about the fiscal deficit, but I'll leave you with an idea that I've been focusing on, which is the data deficit. If we really want to save lives and save livelihoods, data is crucial. And this is no surprise you're going to hear this, at Chicago booth. But I think one of the missed opportunities in so much of the stimulus packages that was passed earlier this year within the US, UK, or anywhere in the world was to really build good track and trace systems, good ways of collecting data very rapidly and disseminating it very rapidly so that you can have a very quick way of responding and targeted way of responding. That's, I think, the most effective way to save lives and save livelihoods and get the economy back. And I think Asia has been much more effective at that than much of Western Europe and the US. And so I would like to see in any future stimulus not just support for households who are finding challenges with many sectors being shut down, but also thinking about saving lives and saving livelihoods simultaneously through more rapid data collection, more rapid data dissemination, having a consistent platform for getting this information out quickly, and then good track and trace systems to really be targeted in the responses to be able to avoid broad lockdowns like we have here in the UK right now. But fortunately, things seem to be getting a bit better. It seems that the cases are plateauing, the number of the mortality rate seems to be plateauing. And so I'm looking forward to the end of the lockdown soon, and hopefully inviting all of you to join me here in London, and then also hopefully seeing you in Hong Kong very, very soon. Great to see you. All the best. Stay safe and stay connected.